In the sweltering summer of 1944, immediately following the D-Day Normandy landings on June 6 that broke through German defenses after weeks of bloody combat, the Allied high commands across Britain and America shared an unshakable certainty. The tide of World War II was decisively turning in their favor. Wehrmacht German forces were retreating in disarray from Normandy. The liberation of Paris appeared tantalizingly close after 4 long years of Nazi occupation, and the relentless Allied advance deep into France seemed not just possible, but utterly inevitable. Yet, concealed behind this bold public display of confidence to boost troop morale and civilian hopes, a single crucial question haunted the minds of top Allied strategists day and night. Precisely how fast could their armored columns and infantry truly advance across war-torn terrain? To provide a reliable answer to this pressing dilemma, the Allies drew upon decades of accumulated military doctrine from previous wars, meticulous logistical analyses of supply chains, and fresh intelligence reports from behind enemy lines detailing German dispositions. The British, in particular, possessed an intelligence apparatus at Bletchley Park and MI6 that was world-renowned for its extraordinary rigor, unyielding prudence, and ability to sift through vast data like Enigma decrypts. Every potential advance was subjected to minute calculations of fuel consumption and troop fatigue. Every single kilometer was precisely estimated based on road conditions, and every conceivable obstacle from rivers to minefields was meticulously anticipated in advance. According to these exhaustive and data-driven calculations from British analysts, one stark reality stood out above all. The overall progress of the Allied armies would inevitably be slow and methodical to avoid disaster. In August 1944, as the Normandy breakout gained momentum, British intelligence services formally predicted that it would require approximately 3 full weeks for the U.S. Third Army to reach the vital Seine River after punching through the German lines near Avranches. Critical roads had been systematically destroyed by retreating Germans. Key bridges were rigged with explosives and mined for demolition, and overstretched Allied supply lines from Normandy beaches were already pushed to their absolute extreme limits. On paper, in every logistical model and war game simulation, attempting to advance any faster would prove not only dangerously imprudent in terms of risking encirclement, but quite simply logistically impossible without total collapse. However, all these precise predictions fundamentally rested upon one key assumption that proved flawed: that all Allied generals, regardless of nationality or temperament, would adhere to the same cautious doctrine and behave in precisely the same measured manner. But standing at the helm of the powerful U.S. Third Army was a singular figure utterly unlike any other general in the Allied command structure. This was a battle-hardened general who utterly despised artificial theoretical limits imposed by planners, deeply convinced that raw speed itself constituted the most devastating weapon on the modern battlefield. His name was General George S. Patton, the audacious commander activated on August 1, 1944. Unlike many of his more conventional counterparts schooled in World War I trench stalemates, Patton rejected the very notion of static warfare with fixed front lines and prolonged pauses. For Patton, any halt in momentum, even briefly, meant granting the shattered enemy precious time to catch their breath, desperately reorganize scattered units, and launched devastating counterattacks from reformed positions. Instead, he advocated advancing with unbridled boldness and aggression, even flirting perilously close to operational chaos, rather than surrendering the priceless initiative to a reeling foe. This radical, high-risk philosophy profoundly shocked and unsettled the traditionally cautious British military establishment, accustomed to Montgomery's deliberate pace. To the British High Command, Patton was undeniably brilliant in tactical execution, but inherently dangerous due to his excessive aggression, complete unpredictability, and willingness to gamble with entire armies. Even Prime Minister Winston Churchill himself closely observed this maverick American general with a palpable undercurrent of distrust and skepticism from afar. Churchill genuinely admired Patton's boundless personal energy and drive, yet harbored serious doubts that any modern industrialized army could possibly sustain such a blistering operational tempo without its supply lines snapping and the entire force collapsing in exhaustion. Deep within the hushed intelligence offices in London, British experts remained utterly convinced, based on their models, that Patton would inevitably be forced to drastically slow down his reckless dash. The cold hard numbers from logistics charts were crystal clear on fuel and ammo shortages. Historical precedents from previous campaigns confirmed the risks, and everyone knew that great wars are never won through desperate high-stakes gambles alone. But out on the muddy front lines of France amid the chaos of combat, Patton himself reasoned and operated in an entirely different paradigm altogether. He relentlessly drove his tank divisions and infantry forward around the clock without respite, strategically bypassing stubborn pockets of German resistance rather than wasting time in costly head-on confrontations that would bleed momentum. Patton willingly embraced carefully calculated risks at every turn, absolutely convinced that the shock of surprise combined with sheer blinding speed would disorient and demoralize the enemy far more effectively than any textbook perfect, ponderous maneuver ever could. And remarkably, in a development that caught everyone off guard, something truly unexpected and paradigm-shifting began to unfold on the ground in real time. Days ticked by relentlessly, then an entire week elapsed amid frantic advances, and yet Patton's Third Army showed no signs whatsoever of the predicted slowdown or exhaustion. What British intelligence had meticulously forecasted would demand a grueling 3 weeks of cautious progress was astonishingly unfolding in mere days, with Patton actually reaching the Seine in just 6 lightning-fast days. Unbeknownst to them at first as reports trickled in, the stunned British experts were on the verge of witnessing the total collapse of every single one of their carefully constructed predictions and timelines. Winston Churchill himself would soon be compelled to fundamentally reevaluate and revise everything he believed he understood about the possibilities of modern mechanized warfare in the 20th century. This extraordinary saga transcended mere tanks rumbling across fields or soldiers marching. At its core, it represented a profound and irreversible shift in the prevailing mentality of how wars could and should be fought.